Hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on wherever you are in the world. And for all the Indian viewers, a very happy Independence Day. Welcome to day three of Let's Include session of the Bengaluru International Short Film Festival. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is simply include them as part of your family, as part of your life, or part of your society or workplace. So, under the Let's Include section of the film festival, there are short films that delve deeper into inclusion and why inclusion matters. My name is Justin, and I'll moderate today's panel with filmmakers who not only believe in inclusion but have also done something to show to the world why we need to be inclusive. While we'll have other filmmakers who would join the panel pretty soon, hopefully. We have Omar here with us. I'll quickly introduce him. Omar Ben David has a BA in film from Tel Aviv University and is currently studying MFA at Columbia University. He works as a freelance director and produces and is a producer for music videos and commercials. He's writing now his first feature film. So before I start with Omar asking questions about the film that he's made, I'd probably ask Omar why he feels inclusion is important. Omar, why do you feel inclusion is important?
Um, well, I guess I feel that we see a lot of, in a way, of the same characters on screen from beginning of film, and I feel that it's important as time progresses to enter a different variety of characters that maybe we haven't seen before on screen, and maybe present them as well.
Okay. So we also have uh, should I call it Anna Christina or
Yeah,
Anne Christine? Depending on,
and
yeah.
like Anne, I guess is the right the right
Okay,
English
because yeah, in the
pronunciation.
English speaking world, it's a little different, and German,
Yeah.
it's a little
In
different.
German,
So
it would be Anne.
yeah, which is
So
why I
not
asked, is it
Anna,
Anna
but
Christine? Yeah,
hi.
yeah, okay.
Hi,
Hi,
everyone.
hi. Anne, I'd quickly introduce you to the viewers,
Mhm.
and then we'll get started with the questions. So, Anne was raised by the Baltic Sea. She studied textile art at I don't know how to pronounce this, Burggebenstein
Okay.
University. Yeah. Uh, and St. Petersburg Stieglitz State Academy of Art and Design, completed two animation films and then moved to Berlin. She just finished her third animation short film, Iktamuli, which she has submitted for the Let's Include section. So, and my first fundamental primary question is, why do you think inclusion is important, and what is inclusion according to you?
The first question I would answer because it's our human variety which needs to be like considered and shown and be celebrated. And what was the second one was why it's important to me? No, why
Yeah,
what
yeah,
is it
yeah.
for
What?
me?
Yeah,
Um, I think it's like it's not a path which has been gone, so it's always something you have to create anew. Like it's nothing. I think it's something we always have to fight for and embrace it. Like something which needs to be which is never there without our effort to
yeah,
and action.
yeah. I think that's a very valid point, right? So I'm a person with a disability too. I'm paralyzed neck downwards, although it doesn't show in this picture. And I understand what you mean, right? So for people who are marginalized, it could be anything, right? Disability, a physical disability, or an intellectual disability, or they could be from a marginalized community, like the transgender community. Sometimes what should readily be available, like inclusion, is often something that you have to demand for, fight for, right? So I totally
Mhm.
get where you're coming from. Thanks for bringing that point. So I'll move across to Omar. Omar, your film is a slice of life of three friends who have moved apart. But I want to know what inspired you to capture their life and tell this story to everyone.
So when I was about to graduate my film studies, I was looking for a job that is not in film, and a friend brought me to this hostel of people with disabilities. So I ended up working a year and a half with the characters that are in the film. And only long after I quit, I tried to, all the time that I was there, I wanted to write a fiction film about them because I come more from fiction and I couldn't manage to fully write them. And then a couple of years after I left, I realized they were going to separate to different apartments. And then I realized maybe I don't need to write them. I just need to rush back in and document them. And also, as far as what you call this slice of life, which I agree, is I very much wanted to be kind of a fly on the wall. I wanted to give a feeling of what if someone walked in to that hostel and spent time with them and not to let them actually interview or to talk about their condition, more to just present them in a raw way, like you do when you hang around them. That was the idea.
Right. So I watched the film. So I'm now curious. So is it fiction? Was it all acting, or was it you actually went there and asked people, "Who did you take it?" Because it looks so realistic when I watched the film.
No, it's not fiction at all. It's 100% documentary.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, because it looked so real and so natural, and the emotions that were coming from the lead roles were so
Yeah.
realistic.
They felt very comfortable and acquainted with me, and I did a pretty slow procedure of letting them to know my DOP and my sound recorder, and then we kind of basically joined in with them for a couple of weeks, and we were pretty much with them. And I think, given to their condition, also their emotions are and their heart is so open, so they don't really fake anything. I think for most of the time
Yeah,
they weren't aware of the camera. There's so many people around them in a lot of the scenes, and there's guides there in the house, so they pretty much, I think, accepted the film crew as the rest of the people that are around them, and just didn't really pretend anything for the camera.
yeah, absolutely. And to the viewers, if you've not watched it, you should absolutely go ahead and watch it because you know uh, it doesn't look like characters. They're all real life, and it doesn't actually show as if they were getting filmed. It was so natural. Yeah. So absolutely. So I'd quickly move to Anne Iktamuli is a brutally honest movie that delves into a mother's ambivalent feelings. What prompted you to take the subject?
it's it's a personal story. So filmmaking became a way to understand, to confront myself, and to confront others with dealing with the otherness of family members, which is,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think, which is a total universal topic. I think everyone can relate to this feeling of maybe alien to your parents or parents to the kids. But this is something I discovered very late. So I started, it's a healing process which was started by just doing the drawings and expressing myself, and then I realized, oh, it's interesting for others too. so
yeah, absolutely. And I
so
think a
it's
lot of people, yeah, acknowledge the feeling, but never really talk about it, right? And in your film, it absolutely comes out. Those two different feelings, that ambivalent feeling, that absolutely comes out, and that's why I said it's brutally honest. Sorry, you were saying something. Please go on, continue.
no, I don't know. What did I say? No, I think there was a little disruption, I think. So no, I think like I was just doing it for myself in the beginning, and then I realized it's something which might be
I think
to
we
disability.
lost her briefly there. I think, and we lost you
Yeah.
for the last 10 seconds. Can you please repeat
Okay.
what you said?
It's like first I did it for myself, and then I realized it's also it's maybe relieving and interesting and helpful for the others, for other parents with children with special needs. So it's
Yeah,
but first, in the first place, it's my story, it's my son and my dealings with emotions.
yeah. Iktamuli, I'm pronouncing that right, correct? Because that's what you said in the beginning of the film. I know you made it up. Do you want to talk a little more about it, and how did you,
About
even make it up, and
yeah,
how the characters react? Yeah,
like this word came out of my mouth in that, like, in a moment of totally, I was totally free, close to freaking out because my son wouldn't do what we had to do, and I had no patience, and I was about to kill him. And hi. And so it's and then this word came out of my mouth, and then we used it, and I used it several times in such situations to just help myself and to okay, like it helped. It was like a medicine, which
yeah,
I invented. And then this word became got a different meaning because we both used it, like my son and me, and more in situations which were cool and happy and like, and then it got lost a bit, like we didn't use it a long time, and then I used it in the film, and then it's renewed again, and he's using it, like for my birthday he
perfect.
would
Yeah,
write it down for me, and
yeah,
so like a personal family code word, which is
perfect.
like a
So and
container for
yeah,
everything.
thanks for sharing that, because I'm pretty sure a lot of viewers here are parents of children with disability, and I think it'll mean a lot to them. You sharing that here. So quickly, we have Doug here as well. Hi, Doug.
Hey,
For the viewers, let me introduce Doug. Right. So Doug is an independent filmmaker with a passion for telling stories about underrepresented communities. He studied film at University of Wisconsin and FAMU in Prague. His collaboration with the Helen Keller National Center marked the first time a deaf-blind actor was featured in a film. His short film Jada has played in 24 plus festivals around the world before gaining nearly 19 million views on YouTube. Doug produced the feature film Life Hack, which has 16 awards, including Best Independent Feature at Cleveland International Film Festival, and directed a segment for feature film Prism. Wow. So, Doug, before I get into your film, I want to ask you, what does inclusion mean to you, and why do you think it's important?
that's a great question. First of all, I want to apologize for clicking the wrong link initially to get in the room. My apologies. And hello to everyone else in here. Nice to meet you guys. And Anne, actually, Anne and I were actually on another panel
Yeah.
at another festival together. So it's nice to see you
Good
again.
to see you.
But yeah, in answer to that question, and I'm so glad you guys have this category. I've actually been, like you kind of started to mention in my bio, but I've been collaborating with the Helen Keller National Center for almost 3 years now, to not just bring this story as entertainment to people, but also to have a campaign of accessibility and awareness around the deafblind community accessibility, because inclusion is so important, particularly in media. And what it means to me in media specifically is, I think one of the beautiful powers of cinema and any form of media is to really help mold people's understanding of the world around them. And the necessity of inclusion is because it accurately reflects the diverse world we live in. And if we don't include all of the different communities that exist in the world, we start to create these false perceptions for people as far as the world they live in, being that media plays such a big role in helping form people's perceptions of the world around them. So to me, inclusion is an absolutely necessary and vital ingredient in anything, but particularly in media and storytelling, in order to accurately reflect the world that we live in.
Mm.
Thanks, Doug, for bringing that up. Because I was telling the other panelists before you joined, I'm a quadriplegic, paralyzed neck downwards, although it doesn't show in the video. So I know what you're saying in terms of inclusion and accessibility and how important it is for people around. Being an advocate of inclusion myself, so I'm going to quickly, Doug, ask you, regarding your film itself, feeling through, that film. Transcends topics like inclusion, accessibility, acceptance. It's just beyond all of these things, right? It talks about a human to human connection, and I think when we understand that, we'll be totally embracing all sorts of inclusion, diversity, and all that stuff. Do you want to talk about that aspect of your film?
Yeah, I'd love to. And, Justin, I'm so glad you brought that up, because it's funny, if we go back almost about 3 years, when I first approached the Helen Keller National Center wanting to partner with them to make this, I said, look, I have this film I want to make. It has a deafblind character in it. I'd love for it to be played by a deafblind actor. But at the end of the day, this film is not about deafblindness. It's about human connection.
Right.
And I think that's part of, I think one of the things that is so interesting in the space that media is in right now, where there's certainly, though numbers wise, there's certainly not nearly enough inclusion for a number of communities that are very underrepresented. There's much more of an inclination right now to be open to casting or working with communities that normally wouldn't be there. And what I think is so interesting is that the next iteration of all of this is getting to a place where it's not about the person with the disability. It's not, there doesn't need to be such a highlight on oh, wow, there's a deafblind actor, because in our case, we're the first film to star a deafblind actor. So obviously it's going to be a big deal in that we're hoping to get to a place where there have been enough deafblind actors in movies where that in and of itself isn't the main thing that we point at, where it's just part of the landscape. So it is so important, I think, to have stories where, the marginalized or underrepresented community, it's not about that, but it includes those communities in a way where they're seen as multifaceted humans, who that element, in this case a disability, is only one facet of many other qualities and capabilities that they have. So yeah, it's been really important to feeling through since the beginning that it includes a deafblind actor who's playing a deafblind character, but that it's not about deafblindness. And at the end of the day, part of the message of it is in the fact that at first it seems like it's a non-disabled person within the story. It seems like it's a non-disabled person helping a disabled person, but at the end of the day, it's actually the disabled person, in this case the deafblind person, helping the other person, to kind of subvert that, to kind of have it be like, oh wait, actually it's not a one-way street. They can both help each other, and that the person who's deafblind can help the sighted and hearing person too. So it very much pertains to the question you asked, and I'm really glad you asked it. It's a great question.
No, I had to bring that up because I think that's the only way to make everyone realize how important human connection is. And as I said, the moment we realize human connection, everything else falls in place. Yeah. So thanks for bringing that perspective. I'll quickly move to Omer. Omer, your story, as we already said, we spoke about it, that it's a slice of life of three different friends. Roommates with mental disabilities. But how is the situation really in your country in terms of accessibility, and in terms of the evolving film industry? Are there more films that talk about inclusion? Do you want to talk about that?
I don't feel that there is a lot of films that have to do with inclusion. I would say, well, of course, there's personal stories of a variety of things, but I would say maybe a big majority of the Israeli film industry has to do with Israeli-Palestinian conflict. that is the vast majority that we export outside to international festivals. And not a whole lot of filmmakers. There is one other person that I know that did a film called My Brother a Hero, about a bunch of people with disabilities that did the Himalaya track. But that's pretty much the only other one that I know that deals with these subjects. Yeah, and as far as the country goes, I don't know what happens in the rest of the world. I don't feel that there is a lot of accessibility in general. Also, a lot of people with disabilities are positioned in different hostels in specific parts of the city. So I don't feel that you run into it on an everyday basis. I'm not sure that everyone fully bumps into people with disabilities. In the film, there is a scene where they walk in the street or they take the bus, and I know that a lot of my friends and people that watch the film are suddenly surprised in a way to see these characters walking in the same streets that we walk in and live in, because they're in a pretty good condition, so they get to walk around on their own in the city if they have different appointments or medical procedures. So before I did the work at the hostel, I'm not sure I felt that I ran into a lot of people with disabilities on the street. And I feel that the response I get from the audience is pretty much similar. Everyone were pretty shocked to see that they take the same buses we take and they hang in the same mall and that kind of stuff.
Right. I'm glad you brought that point because back here in India, World Bank says there are around 40 to 80 million people with disabilities, and I've been on a wheelchair for the last 10 years after a spinal cord injury, and I don't get to see anybody of these 40 to 80 million people when I go to the movies or to the favorite restaurant. I don't get to see them at all. I think that much for architectural barriers across India and across in the globe. But Omar, how satisfying has your experience been doing this film?
I can divide the answer to two. One is, let's say, on an industry level satisfaction, and the film has only now, with you guys, started its international path. So I'm very happy about that. Uh, in Israel, I did win one festival that is oriented to disabilities and solidarity. That's on a professional level. As far as a personal level goes, I think it's the film that I've made that I love the most and that touched my heart the most. The procedure of doing it with the characters and what I felt that I got from it, and some of the responses of people that suddenly this big fear of these characters, that people that are unaware, they're not exactly sure. Can you approach? How can you approach? What is the level of the intelligence? What is their feelings are like? And people see the movies, and the response that I get are pretty amazing, as far as their eye opening and their hearts widening for the characters. So there's the main character, Shimrit. I get a lot of responses that people like would want to meet her, would want to be her friend, kind of. She's very funny. So for me, that's a pretty amazing experience, and I'm happy I did it. I feel it's the most important thing that I've done.
Awesome. So I'll quickly move to Anne. And I have two questions for you. One, why did you decide to make this film as an animation? That's one. And second, I also want you to, touch upon a little, as a parent, what would be your message to other parents with children with disabilities?
Like there wasn't really another, like it wasn't really a choice. Do I do it as an animation film or as a real life? Like I'm not interested in, like I like to watch documentaries, but I I wanted to do an animated documentary. I wanted to draw because this is my means of expressing myself,
Okay.
and it's a good. I think it's a wonderful way to show stuff without really pointing at, like to find metaphors and to find ways to express something more than words would do, and also more, which is not depict like stuff feelings, thoughts, which are not depictable, I think, like with the camera, for example. So
Yeah, it
that's
makes total sense because when you watch the film, it absolutely comes through. It makes total sense. Yeah, yeah. Uh, yeah. So I also wanted to know from you, what would your messaging be to, fellow parents, if you want to touch upon that?
mm, I think what I've tried to express within, like for myself and also for other parents and other persons, is to like, yeah, to have those feelings, and even those ambivalent feelings, that they are part of the love and part of the affection, and that it's hard sometimes, and that we have to admit that to ourselves. I think, like, I have, like me as a mother, I often have this tendency to, okay, I have a disabled child, so I am a role model for others, and I need to do it perfectly well and not show any difficulties and not to admit them. That was that was my mindset, kind of, because it's like we are, like, at least here in Europe, I have this the impression that we've never been so open to inclusion, and on the other hand, we have a lot of we have prenatal, how do you say that, like before children are born, so they are tested or the
Yeah.
mothers are informed on their status of health, I would say, and we are trying to control and to have only healthy people, like healthy individuals
Yeah.
being born, kind of. And this is like two sides of one medal, I think. And then for that, I've felt, oh, I need to show that it's easy, that it not, or that it is doable. And maybe someone next to me would not have an abortion, finding out that her child would have trisomy, like Down syndrome, for example. Like, this is something which I had in mind, and which stopped me, actually, or which would I had to fight a lot against that. And then I understood, no, doing this film, it's so helpful to admit my self-pity and to do this act of, I don't know, power, to do power crying, and to just be like, admit in front of yourself that it's hard, but that it's so enriching, and so, like, I am a different person. Like my son changed the perspective to like the perspective on so many things, and I'm super thankful for that. And I see myself as maybe as a bridge to the normal world. So I'm
Yeah,
so I
thanks,
yeah
thanks, and thanks for expressing that. And seriously, I think it'll mean a lot. Would it be fair to then say that to have that ambivalent feeling is normal, and that does not mean in any way that you love you
yeah
love your child any lesser, right? I think
no
that would be
yeah
absolutely normal to say that, correct?
yeah thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks for expressing that. I just move on with ask Doug another question. So Doug, for the very first time in a short film, we have a deaf-blind actor, playing himself, Robert Tarango. Now, how was your experience working with him? Was it, as a person who's not been exposed to the world, was it easy to communicate? Were there any challenges? And how did you feel about the entire thing, and for your crew as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I think first and foremost, I was really fortunate to get to partner with the Helen Keller National Center on this. That's what really made it a possibility. Because I did need a communication team, which included a lot of interpreters and support service providers to help facilitate the communication and the transportation. So with that team, it was great because I also had a great amount of lead time to really get to know the interpreters as well. Something that I now, like, several years into this process, and hundreds of conversations through interpreters, with not just Robert but many other people in the community, I've learned a lot more about a relationship with an interpreter, and how the better that an interpreter you're working with, and the better that interpreter knows both subjects, the easier that the facilitation of that communication will be. So we had a chance to all build a rapport with each other to really help streamline that communication by the time we got on set. But it's funny because a lot of times people ask, what it was like working, in this case, with the first deafblind actor in a film. I think I would focus more on it. And for any filmmakers out there, I would lean more on the side that he was a first-time actor, period. So that comes with its own challenges. Robert, but most importantly, Robert's someone with a great heart, and a great spirit, and someone who was really up for the task. But yeah, it was challenging working with the first-time actor part of him, because I think a lot of first-time actors, there's this desire to do a good job and do it right, and trying to dispel somewhat of the notion that there isn't a right or wrong, to get out of that mindset and to start to just move into this story, and being just investing deeper and deeper in the story, rather than did I get it right? Did I do it wrong? So that was honestly one of the hardest parts there, was just working with him as a first-time actor to get out of that mindset. But again, as far as the facilitation of it, I was really, really fortunate to be able to work with Helen Keller National Center and all the support that they had as far as the communication team. I mean, it did add a lot to the team, because just for those who maybe haven't worked with an interpreter before, it's not like you can just have one interpreter on set all day. An interpreter traditionally doesn't go more than 20 or 30 minutes without doing an interpreter switch. So not only do you need interpreter switching, but if you're going to go over an 8 to 12 hour day on set, you're going to need more than just two interpreters going back and forth. So we often had probably about 4 to 6 interpreters and some other support staff to kind of help round it out. So it did, we did grow our team for sure around that. But I'd also say, one last thing on that, a lot of times, production's hard, it's hard no matter what you do. There's really challenging aspects. And I always ask people who are considering being more inclusive in their filmmaking to not be scared away by what might sound like extra challenges or considerations. I would more say really embrace that element and understand that it brings a whole new dimension to the experience of making the film as well. So rather than the way I talk about it, I don't say, oh, it was harder because we needed more people and more. I say it was amazing because we got to have this whole other dimension to the experience. We had this whole other dimension of communication, of community that helped really make the film what it is. So to me, big picture, it was really an asset, even if it did involve some new roles that I hadn't worked with before on set.
I think that's a great point, and for all the viewers who are budding filmmakers and they want to touch upon inclusion, I think that's a great point. Thanks for bringing that up. So I'd quickly go around to the panel and ask what their future projects are, and then I'll let the discussion open for viewers' comments or any questions for any filmmakers that we have in the panel. So Omar, what are your future projects? I know you're writing a story for a feature. If you want to talk about it, great. If not, any future plans that you have. It doesn't have to be necessarily about inclusion, but generally, what are your future plans?
So on the inclusion level, I actually want, I don't have a clear idea what it is, but I actually want to make a fiction film with the main character from Moving, from this documentary. I feel that I can work with her more, and I want to try and do another project, but I don't have the borders of the story organized yet. I actually finished this week another short film, so I'm happy about that. Also happy that it's born, and also happy to be over with it. And yeah, I'm writing on my feature now. It's about a grieving father going to kind of discover his son that he didn't know, his son's life, in a way. Those are basically the projects at the moment.
Perfect. Perfect. And what are your future plans?
Yeah, like I'm about to do, like, to try to do an inclusive animation film with with artists, like people who are working in arts, who with so-called disabilities, and I want to do like it's going to be, I don't know what, because it's going to be inclusive, so I try not to push it too hard into one direction. But one idea was to do to deal with the topic of sex, like sexuality, and maybe one idea was to do a sex education film for people with
Yeah,
disabilities.
I think that's a brilliant point.
Yeah.
Often unspoken topic,
It
because
is.
across different countries and societies, sexuality for people with disability is often not considered at
It's
all.
not, yeah.
People with disabilities are considered to be asexual, so to say. So I think that will be brilliant. I look forward to that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me too.
thanks
Like
for
right
sharing that.
now we can't work, so like it's because of Corona I can't
Yeah,
access the workshop, so I'm waiting
yeah,
for next year, I
yeah,
hope.
yeah. Doug, we all know you're a busy person. What are your future projects?
Yeah, so in addition to developing a feature film version of Feeling Through, there's several things ongoing right now. So a couple quick plugs, but I also do a weekly live stream called Feeling Through Live, where I speak with different people from the deafblind community, and also low vision and blind communities primarily, but all disability community at large, about topics relevant to everyone. So we do that every Friday. Yeah, I don't know what it is in your time zone, but in the US it's 2 p.m. on the East Coast and 11 a.m. on the West Coast. We do that every week. We've done 18 episodes so far, speaking with a host of really interesting people. And if you want to go and watch any of the previous episodes, you can go to youtube.com/feelingthrough. And before coronavirus, we were taking the feeling. So Feeling Through is actually part of a feature event called the Feeling Through Experience, which is a 90-minute event that includes Feeling Through, the short film that's a part of this festival, a supporting documentary called Connecting the Dots, which follows the process of casting and working with Robert, our deafblind actor, as well as the search for the deafblind man who I had met years prior, who inspired this whole story. And then the third part of it is a panel discussion and Q&A with the deafblind community, and that part is always different. So we've been doing live streams of that throughout this time, and if anyone's curious about being a part of that, again, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, or you can sign up for our mailing list at feelingthrough.com. And something that will resume once we're able to again is we were traveling the United States and about to go abroad, taking the Feeling Through experience all around and doing them as fully accessible screenings. We got to do 14 before COVID hit, and we'll do plenty more after. But again, a lot of what we're doing is also awareness around accessibility. So what a fully accessible experience in our case looks like is we'd sometimes have upwards of 50 interpreters and support staff at a screening, to have tactile interpreters for people for patrons who are deafblind, stage interpreter, ASL interpreters for people who are deaf or hard of hearing, audio description, open captions on the screen, and accessibility help to and from the theater, to just give this fully accessible experience. And we would have a lot of people from the deafblind community and related communities sharing this experience alongside the non-disabled community, to really build bridges between communities that don't normally have events catered to both of them, that don't normally have these inclusive events that are meant for everyone to come together and learn from each other. So we're still doing those virtually. We make them as accessible as we can virtually with an ASL interpreter, live captions, and a stream text link so that it's accessible for people who use Braille displays that they hook up to their computers. We just did one this past Thursday and had about 1,500 people join us for that, and so it's been fun to explore it in the virtual space while we have to do that as well. But again, we have a lot more content that we're creating every week in this space, and we really encourage anyone who's watching and interested in learning a lot more about it to follow us, to subscribe to youtube.com/feelingthrough. Just this on Friday, I spoke with a deafblind couple about their love story, and it was a way to just speak about, again, like Anne was just mentioning, a dimension that, of the disability community's life that a lot of people disregard. The fact that they can be in love and have a loving relationship and a sexual relationship and kind of all the categories of relationship that anyone else would. And that's just one of many different conversations that we have on a weekly basis.
Perfect. I certainly will look up and watch those videos. So I think I didn't ask this question, and you touched upon saying that your inspiration was a few years back when you met a deafblind person. Do you want to quickly talk about that? Was it at a personal level? What was it that started this whole? This looks like a movement now. So I think I need to ask that question.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy you did. And so basically, long story short, I live in Los Angeles now, but I'm from New York City. And about 9 years ago, when I was still in New York City, I was coming home late one night. I'd been out with some friends, actually celebrating it was a wrap party for another film I'd worked on. And I was coming home late, and I saw a man standing on a corner by himself. And as I got closer, I saw that he was holding a sign that said, "I'm deaf and blind and need help crossing the street." So I tapped him, and he pulled out a notepad and wrote that he needed a bus stop, and I took him over there. And for those who know New York City late night transportation, if you've just missed a bus and it's like 4 a.m, another bus is not coming for like an hour, which was the case in this instance. So I wanted to sit and wait with him, but I wanted to find a way to communicate with him. I didn't know how to communicate with him. So I just kind of half out of desperation and half out of intuition, I took his palm and started writing one letter at a time on his palm. And he understood it. And we ended up having a whole conversation that way, with me writing one letter at a time on his palm, him writing back in a notepad. And it was one of those moments that you have in your life where, as it's happening, you're very aware that it's a life-changing moment. I was both very present to what was happening and also very, like, all of my molecules were firing, and I was very aware that this was like a life-changing moment, largely because I didn't really know exactly why in the moment. But now, like about 9 years later, kind of reflecting on this whole thing, or being able to look back and understand it more, the easiest way I describe it is because at the beginning of that interaction, I definitely saw this man as his disability first. And look, not in a bad way, but because I'd never met anyone who was deafblind, I never even really thought about anyone who was deafblind. I'd heard of Helen Keller when I was a kid, and that was it. So when I first see this man, the first thing that goes off in my brain is, oh, wow, like someone who's deafblind. As a New Yorker, such a diverse city, you kind of pride yourself on like, oh, I've met everyone, right? Because everyone's in New York City. And here I am as like a man in my late 20s at the time, realizing I've never met anyone who's deafblind. And then when we were able to connect over the course of that hour and really get to know each other, and I got to know him as this charismatic, funny, warm-hearted, like really interesting guy, I started, within this one conversation, I started to see all the different dimensions of who he was, to the point where, I'm helping him get on the bus and we're giving each other a big hug bye, and I'm like tearing up thinking like, oh, I'm going to miss this new friend that I just made. Realizing that in that one interaction, I went from seeing him as his disability to really connecting with the full humanity of him. And that was really ended up being the inspiration for everything. And, a little bit of a spoiler alert here, but a reason why you'll want to go to feelingthrough.com and sign up for our mailing list to catch a Feeling Through experience, which, by the way, are all free. Or go to our YouTube channel and subscribe there, is because part of the documentary is this year-long search to find this man that I met, I guess 6 years prior to the shooting of the documentary, it was a challenging task. We really, we talked to a lot of different people in the community to try to find this guy. And I guess you'll have to tune in to see if we find him or not.
Yeah, see, two things, right? One, now I realize this film is a reflection of your own life, whatever has happened. In fact, when I watched it at the end, I was like thinking, is this person, would there be a sequel where this person is actually trying to go and find that person, right? The lead character. So I'm glad that you brought it up, and it kind of makes me even more curious. The second point is a very honest confession. Despite having a disability myself, today when I saw that film, it made me realize how little I know about some of the disabilities, and I started looking up how they overcome their challenges. So it's an eye opener for me as well. So thank you so much. So on that note, I'd request if there are any questions from the viewers that we can take, that the filmmakers can answer. Any questions coming through? There are comments which congratulate and say awesome to all of you, and to Doug. So yes, I'm passing that on. But any other questions? We'll give it a few seconds to see if there are any other questions. Otherwise, we will wrap this up. Right.
May I take the time? No. We are waiting for questions.
Yeah, we're waiting for questions.
I did not expect that it would move me so much. Like I almost started to cry when I heard Omer and Doug again. And it's thank you for having this forum.
I think we all mutually are benefiting, because your experiences, your felt experience, I think means a lot, especially when the viewers see this. For people who've not experienced this, it's an eye-opening experience. So thank you so much for the wonderful work that you've been doing. To all the viewers, if you've not watched these films, they're brilliant, very moving films, extraordinary films with extraordinary stories. So I think you should go and watch it. Check it out in the film festival website. And also there is a facility to donate, and proceeds of the donation goes to the filmmakers and also to a charitable organization called Vidya Niketan. So I'd urge you to go and check the website out. To the panel here, fantastic 45 minutes. Thank you so much for being here and making us all wiser.
Thank you so much for having us. It was really, really an honor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Justin.
Thanks. Bye-bye.